Hey, bud.
How are you, my friend?
Good. How are you? Can you see me?
Good. Where are you calling from?
Texas.
Texas. All I can see, you're like a black silhouette with a nice cloudy sky behind you.
Should we keep it mysterious or should I move?
I kind of like it. I think it'll work for a John Ferrara
Sounds
interview.
good.
Yeah.
Cool.
I should record, yeah?
Yeah, you can record to the cloud or your computer. I'm recording on my computer. It should hopefully be fine. If there is, uh, I have better Wi-Fi here, so there's at least that.
Okay. Um, I just have to request permission from you to record.
I give you
Oh,
permission, my friend.
okay, thank you. Thanks. All right, so it's recording.
The the power of Zoom compels you.
Yes. Okay, I'm on gallery view. Good.
I've made you, and you're recording. You're not recording.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, I trust you.
I'm recording, yes.
Okay. And how do I? You think I'd figure this out? You could take 1 week off, we lose everything. How's
We're
your
out
week
of
off?
rhythm.
How's your week off from this man?
Um, Good. How, just plugging away, lessons, all that, working on some cool new stuff with students. Um, Starting to talk with the special guys about getting together and hopefully doing a stream this week. Um, so we're able to do it. We've all been like self-quarantining now for the last 6 weeks, and still kind of like adhere to all the guidelines, and it's a big open space where we practice. But yeah, I think we need to get together and do some stuff for the fans, for the
Yep,
people.
I think it's time. Plus, it's just it'll feel good to get back at it.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's been super hyper focused in their own world and working on their own stuff, which has been great. So I think now we get together a bit more refreshed and get back to work.
Cool.
Yeah. How you been, buddy? What you doing in Texas?
I am here at Cece, my fiance's grandmother's house. She
Oh,
is
cool.
currently in hospice, unfortunately.
Oh, gotcha.
We're down here. Her and her father are there. So this is our. We're here to be with her in this time, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
that,
Where in Texas?
Amarillo.
Amarillo.
Yep. Got a.
Te-
You're not gonna be able to see it. They're big,
I can see it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
big Texan. We had some steaks yesterday.
Wow, fire. And I can also see that you shaved your beard, which I couldn't tell in your shadow before.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's why you want it to be just a dark silhouette today. Now I got it.
I plan to be in here. This is Pop Pop's office. This is where his desk, where he worked. He built
Cool.
houses.
Oh, wow, cool.
He passed away 6 years ago. Yes, I think yesterday.
Okay.
And Dorothy Nana has been here since.
Mm,
I got a chance to develop a relationship with her
cool.
in the past year or two, and she's a
Yeah.
really, really cool lady. Very, very grateful to have met her. I came here. We actually picked out the engagement ring. Cece and I brought this big, like, ungodly heavy book on tour out west. We were doing a couple festivals, and then I was going to meet her here
Mm,
because we still weren't living together.
right.
Or were we? I don't remember. No, I don't. No, we weren't living together yet. So I shoved it in my carry-on, like in where the backpack straps go of my rolling case, and it was the most annoying thing to cart around. I was like, "There's the internet."
Why was it a book?
Because the person we used to our family friend, Cece's family friend from Manassas. Cece's parents are here with us as well,
Hmm.
Amy and Mark, and they use Nita Jewelers. Shout out Nita Jewelers, Ferry, very lovely lady in Manassas, who she said, take this book and you can just take it with you and decide, whenever, and just bring it back when you're done. So I was like, all right, sounds good.
Wow.
I took this giant book and Cece and I looked through it downstairs the one time I was here and spent time. And then Dorothy actually came to Dallas on November 21st of last year. It was Cece's birthday, and Cece was born in Dallas. So she flew out to be with me in the midst of a 6 week tour, or maybe it was 5 weeks, I don't remember, but a long time. And Nana stayed the whole show, and she wanted to even come to the after party. And we were like, I think we're gonna, we'll do that on our own, and we'll see you for breakfast.
Wow.
Um,
Fire.
yeah, really, really cool lady, and I've only met her a few times, but I feel very close with her and very
Yeah.
honored to have met her and spent time with her.
It's so badass when older folks can come out to the show and You
she
know, you typically go, oh, you don't want to be standing too long ago, and they're like, hell no, I'm here.
it was at Granada Theater, so there's a nice place for her to sit. It's far enough
Oh,
back.
nice.
I brought her earplugs just in case. She hated it
Yeah.
to close it off. But
Oh, I'm sure she loved it. Going to like an old nice theater to see a show probably brought back some cool memories for her. You know.
yeah, we talked to her family who live in Wichita Falls. Cece, the hospice is only allowing two people in total, which is weird. That you can only let two people in at all. So
Yeah.
Cece and her father are going in, but she's able to FaceTime with friends and family.
Mm,
Be there with them. But
good.
they were saying how much she talked about the show and how much she enjoyed it, and she got to see
Cool.
her only granddaughter meet the love of her life and her soulmate
Yeah.
get engaged. So
Oh, that's great.
but with all that
Cool.
happy stuff out of the way, shall we invite our good friend John Ferrara
Yes.
into
Now let's get dark with Ferrara.
Back to Basics?
Yeah, buddy.
All right. I'm gonna internet him in here shortly. And thanks to everyone who's been watching this whole uh, experience as we've been experiencing it. It's been an honor to see everyone enjoying it and
Yeah.
to share this time with you. And I feel, we've always connected, and it's cool to like connect on a deeper level and
Yeah.
you know, start this thing together. So
Yeah, man. It's been great to do it together, and it's been great having our bases, our base buds. Like we've said, it's like everyone we've done it with, it feels like you develop more of a deeper connection with them. It's awesome. There he is.
hey, there he is.
What's up, John?
Ben, you look like a villain in like a
Oh,
James Bond movie.
I know, right? Like the bright white clouds and sky behind, just this dark
I
silhouette.
can't hear you guys yet.
Okay, 1 second.
Oh yeah.
There's that clean
Got
face.
there.
Look at that clean shaven boy.
Wait, hold on. I'm still not hearing you.
oh, you
Okay.
want a respirator fit right over
Let me
that
see
thing.
if it's
Yeah,
okay.
you're looking good, bud. I like it. Nice and fresh.
Yeah, I got to fly during a pandemic, so that's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I might be able to drive a 20-foot truck across the country in a pandemic too.
Is that why you shaved your beard?
I'd wanted to. It was a good excuse, but I'd been planning for this.
Okay.
Not
Wow.
the beard.
That's courage I couldn't take. I couldn't shave it.
Johnny boy, you there? You hear us?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
How are you guys?
Very good. Very good.
Good, man. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. So you are live from the John Ferrara zone right here. This is where you do your streams and your lessons and everything.
Yeah, for now, yeah. I kind of set up my whole apartment to be that. So I have like my whole pedal board rig here, my foot pedals, 3 different amps for looping and all sorts of stuff. And yeah, honestly, it's funny. Like I've been doing like Skype lessons for like almost 10 years now, but
Wow.
I know that for a fact
live
because
stream stuff.
I took lessons from you, John.
Yeah, I know.
Cool.
Yeah, for a while too.
Yep, that was great. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, me too, man.
I need to sign up for one, man.
Anytime, dude.
I really would actually love to do that. I'll have to get at you after this about it for sure.
Yeah. Hit me up, dude. Of course.
My parents had a babysitting co-op when they moved to my neighborhood where there's no money exchange. When you babysit someone else's kids, you get credits, and when then you need to have someone babysit, you just use those credits, and no money was exchanged. And I think that'd be a cool thing to do with bass lessons too, or just like life lessons, because
Yeah.
a lot about bass that I am nowhere near either of you, but I can dress myself,
Oh,
so I got that going.
well, you know what, with you, Ben, you have an awesome, just natural feel for bass.
Truth.
You know, like when you play, like you groove like naturally, which is cool. Like that's something that can't be taught, which I always thought was something I always appreciated about your playing.
That's something I've tried to focus on. I think to my detriment a little bit, over focusing on it and not strengthening the other aspects of my playing. But even with just developing my ear, letting it express itself before even really delving too much into theory. And I knew peripherally things, but let's see what I really like and what works, and then I can understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Now I'm feeling that I, am ready for a lot more, which is why I've been teaching a little bit, but I also started taking lessons from my original bass teacher from my life ago, Dave DeMarco. Shout out Dave. Probably join us at some point. But yeah, John, I remember something you told me at Mad Tea Party. I think it was the first year it was at that, the second to last property.
Yeah. Is that the one that had the big storm one year where it had to end early?
The year or two before that.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and I remember, I don't know if it was during a lesson later or during the festival that I was asking about, like if you had any suggestions or tips on playing, and you said that you noticed that I stay in one part of the neck and just feel free to explore a lot more of it. And I remember thinking that's very useful and very good, but also it's interesting that I do stay in one area, because I think I'm not thinking as much about exploring the space, I'm exploring the feel. But I have carried that with me to this day, and think about it, sometimes we're playing, we're like, oh, just go somewhere else, do something else.
Yeah, yeah, to see what else is there. And it's funny, you can have an entire career the first 5 frets of the bass
Yeah,
and not really do much else, and it totally is fine. And you can do cool stuff there. But
I remember when I first started playing it, everything was open strings, then I now, the songs we play just aren't usually like that. And then when I got the 5 string, there's just no need to do that as much. And as I'm teaching students, I'm like, oh yeah, that's an approach. You kind of start, you know, like a microscope with the 1x and then 5x and 20x, and you build your way up from there. So you're at John, where he's at 5000x.
Right. Well, John, you're definitely somebody that isn't in one area of the fretboard. And you've been super busy this year. You put out 2 albums already in 2020, right?
Yeah, I put out a debut solo album and my second duo album, it's a live album. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much the same songs as the first album I put out, but just live versions of them with a couple of extra tracks, like 2 new tracks.
And that was at the Museum of Modern Renaissance, it's called, right?
Yeah.
So that place looked like a trip.
Oh, dude, it was one of the coolest places I've ever been in, and I can't believe we got to play there. Like, I wish
How did you pull that off?
Single show.
Yeah.
So, this girl Alice Feldman, who puts on a festival called Jet Lag. It's like a Russian music festival in upstate New York.
We were gonna play it this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
She helped me put it together. Like, she knew the people who own the place and are the artists, and we kept on thinking, like, for the duo stuff, which you've seen the duo before.
I've never seen the duo perform. Oh no, okay, I saw you guys once at Lizard Lounge when you played with Club Delph. That's the only time I've seen it. Yeah,
and so for that kind of music, we were thinking, like, like venues, just like normal venues just don't make sense. Like, it's more contemplative music, and it gets a little raucous at times, but a lot of it gets whisper quiet and stuff like that. So we were thinking, if we have this weird kind of esoteric craziness that we're doing, let's try to find venues that, like, would add to the experience, and kind of suggest a more contemplative and demeanor. So we she mentioned that place when I mentioned, like, that kind of general description, and she was like, yeah, this place would be perfect. And sometimes they have concerts or like DJs come in or whatever. So I was like, yeah, I looked it up online. I was like, are you kidding me? This would be perfect.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. It was one of the best shows I've ever played. Like I said, I really wish, like, every show that I play for the rest of my life could just be at that venue or venues like it. Or
with
museums.
People just listening and zoned in and not just, like, talking with their buddies or whatever, which comes from a social setting, and that's fine, right? But there is something to be said for people just tuned in and listening.
Yeah, and that was one of the weird things, like, when Consider the Source first started being, like, getting embraced by the jam scene, which we're very fortunate that we were. But at least, the band at that point, me and Gabe and Justin, our original drummer, we had all come from, like, jazz backgrounds, or, like, we were into jazz and classical music, rock, of course, and a lot of other things. But, like, when I used to go to a show, it was typically like a jazz show. So it was like, you sit and you check it out, and you're like, mind is blown by every nuance of it. So that was, like, my point of reference for live shows. And it was great having, like, a more raucous audience and, like, people who are just getting down. Like, I don't think I'll ever not want to have that.
Yeah, of course.
But it's definitely cool to have a balance of it, where there's, like, I have a couple projects now that are just the chillest atmospheres, and then Consider the Source can play electric and do, like,
yeah. And one of my favorite shows I've ever been to was Medeski, Martin and Wood at a church in Brooklyn. Like 10 years ago, and it was a church, like, not a music venue. It was just a church.
Dude, churches are the best. They're the best venues. I saw this guy, Candy Rat Records, that record label that does all the acoustic guitar guys.
Right.
There's a dude named Ian Ethan Case, who plays a double neck guitar, but he only taps on it pretty much, or mainly taps on it. And he played at a church in Woodstock. And holy shit, dude, it was like 35 people there, tops.
Yeah.
And every single person's life was changed by it. Like, it was absolutely incredible.
There is that kind of just sacred space you're entering, and regardless of your belief or situation or anything, there's something about that, like, that just intense quiet, and whether it's just like the high arches or, I mean, those are places that music has been played in for centuries, you know, and there's like an ancient vibe there that is really interesting.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So like, you know, that kind of environment to perform in and to just see music is just, I don't know, it's just a different thing. You know, music can be so many things to different people, and different kinds of music to the same person, you know, whatever. But
right,
man, everyone should experience that.
And so you guys have done, Consider the Source has done like acoustic and electric sets at festivals before. Yes. So how do you find that balance? Is there one that you'll kind of uniformly enjoy more? You're like, okay, now I got the electric rock shit over, now I can chill out. Or is it the opposite? Or is it different values, different setting, you know?
You know, it's really just about appreciating what you're doing when you're doing it. You know, like there might be certain times where I'd prefer to do an acoustic, or I'd prefer to do an electric, just as far as like emotionally where I'm at a given day or time period. But, you know, when it comes down to it, when you're on stage, you have to, for the sake of yourself and the audience, accept where you're at, what the environment is, and play to the best that you can. And I think just after years and years of playing, I'm sure you guys know this too, it's like you just do it. Yeah. So I learned to I enjoy whatever it is, you know. You know, there's definitely like right now, I would prefer to do more like chill stuff, you know, because that's just where I'm at, like personally. Like if I had a choice, it would be to do that. But I mean, hell, man, with COVID right now, I'd play any show. I'd play any show in any way for anybody.
Right. Any crowd, electric, acoustic, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's cool. And that brings also up your this is your debut solo album, A Harmony of Opposites, that you put out this year, right?
Yes.
So that's exciting. I got to check out a bit of your live stream that you did Sunday. And you were playing a few different pieces off it. I caught the Philip Glass piece, Glassworks.
Yeah.
That looks hard to play.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was like a rite of passage, man. That was
wow.
Yeah, that was kind of like, I love this piece. I need to learn it. Let's just figure it out, and then spend months figuring it out.
How do you figure something like that out? Because is the piece a piano piece? Is it orchestrally like composed, or?
So it's part of a larger piece, but that's like the opening. It's like the Glassworks opening. And that part is the only part that's solo piano.
Okay.
Then it gets into weird, like synth, crazy polyrhythmic, arpeggiated madness. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But that piece is different. That's like its own thing. And I think he's kind of repurposed it in other pieces too.
So how do you go about learning a piece like that or arranging it on bass?
Well, the thing is with that, the reason I was kind of saying that was like a rite of passage was like, I had no idea. I was just I listened to it a lot, and I first just tried to dabble on the bass with what I already knew, and said, all right, well, with what I know right now, what can I do with this? And some of the things worked out, like some of the positions, like the right hand in the beginning is doing like this toggling back and forth between a minor third. The right hand, though, there's a few positions that I had never really explored before. So the thing is, and this is what's cool about tapping and also taking another instrument and trying to apply it to your instrument, is that it forces you to grow.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be you have to be committed to it and a little bit obsessive. But I love that piece to death. So I was like, all right, well, first of all, what are the chords? So what I did was I went on YouTube and I found like, you know, those like overhead videos of people playing piano, and it kind of shows like what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I just did that, and I just pressed pause every 2 seconds and just like looked at it, wrote them out. I was like, oh, okay, I can see that. And then figured out what of those voices I could actually play on the bass. So I have a 5 with a high C, so like it's a little bit more of an extended range.
Right.
So, you know, just kind of like saw, okay, so I can do the outer, I could do the bass notes and the melody. Some of the internal voices, maybe I have to just like not worry about because I just can't do them.
Right.
and then figure it out. And what I was saying, like in the thing on Sunday was, sometimes your left hand has to play the melody, sometimes your right hand. But the thing is, if you're committed to learning it, you just find a way. Like you just find a way to do it. And that's kind of like the main thing, is just saying like, fuck it, I'm just gonna like sit here for as long as I have to and keep on looking at it and trying things out until the right position presents itself.
Well, it's wild, man. It's a very unique, cool thing that I don't see any other bassist attempt, and it's pretty mind blowing. I think whether you're a musician or not, it's one of the cooler things too. Like I've been talking about it with students, and just on this podcast we've talked about it a bit. Like when you're figuring out chordal arrangements or compositions or melodies or thing with the bass, whether you have 4 or 5 strings, whether it's a low B or a high C, like you have to kind of figure out which parts of the melody and chord, like you said, that you want to take. So it's an interesting process, right? To go, okay, well, what tones give this chord that sound? Which ones can I omit? It's just a really interesting process that forces you to kind of use your ear and experiment. And like you said, ultimately grow from doing it.
Yeah. And it's cool. Like, you might be at one time in your life with a certain song and, omitting certain voices or whatever. And then you learn a few other songs or create your own songs and find ways around it that, oh, wait, maybe I could fly that idea back into that original one.
Right.
You have to just do your best and keep growing and see like kind of where it takes you.
You said
now ideas I had in the first couple months.
You're gonna start using more tensions now. You're like, okay, I shied away from dissonance before. Now you got to embrace that shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool, very interesting. And so, what else was kind of your process behind this solo album as a first release? But you've obviously performed in a duo context, in a solo context before. I was just curious about your process for composing and how you wanted to kind of frame this and release it.
Yeah, well, it kind of started with the duo project, I guess, because, for the past 14 or so years, all my writing has been either in Consider the Source, I applied to Consider the Source, or just applied to myself in my bedroom, just like I have an idea, it doesn't exist anywhere, there's no outlet for it. And then it got to a point where there was a lot of songs that I would show the guys, they'd be like, I have no idea what to do with that. I'm like, I understand. I don't really know what could be done with it. So, so I started playing with Seth for the duo project, and that gave me an outlet for some of that stuff. And then the same kind of thing happened there. I was like, all right, well, some of these pieces don't really work here either. Maybe they're just cool. Like a lot of the music I listen to, like Philip Glass, is kind of solo piano stuff or solo guitar stuff.
You just keep moving people out of the equation. You just keep taking things out.
Yeah, pretty soon I'm not going to be here.
It's just going to be your foot pedals eventually. No finger, no bass involved.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a USB drive into my brain, and then I'm just going to stop existing. And then like 200 years from now, someone will just upload it.
Yeah.
Wow, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's what we're all going to do eventually, right?
Yeah.
It's a dream.
That's the dream, yeah.
That's the dream. Sure.
Yeah, but I listen to a lot of like Brad Meldau, Chick Corea, just players like that just do so much cool exploring just on their own. I mean, when they're in a full band context, it's equally cool, but that kind of stuff just touches me, man. So when I started tapping and getting more and more into it, that's sort of like the aesthetic I'm going for, is more like if you were to go see like a piano player just do a solo concert, that's what I'm trying to convey.
Right.
Yeah, I can very much identify with that feeling. Just, you have your main thing that you've been doing, and you're building your career around, and then you have this other outlets you want to explore. That's my first instrument is piano, and I started.
Right.
Brad Meldau is one of my favorite musicians. His stuff is incredible, and I just started. And I was at home. I had moved back home with my parents, staying in the basement, and I would just go up. They had a piano there that I first played on, and I would just start messing around on it, and then I would come across a song that I'd hearing, and I'm like, oh, they did an E major here instead of E minor. Like, what's that about? And then started exploring, and then writing a little bit of my own stuff, and I had some of my best musical experiences on my own, just in front of that piano, and the desire to continue that process as I'm doing everything else, and exploring that really drives me and keeps the passion for music expansive.
Yeah, and I think it's cool, to have all of it. Just like we were saying with different venues and different whatever. Like, the more opportunities you have to explore different areas of music, the more well-rounded you're going to be as a player. You know, you're just going to, you know, you like for me, getting a 5-string bass, especially with a high C, I feel like I went from writing really cool riffs and cool songs to becoming like a composer.
Right.
You know, like
Right.
it was like a transition where like I never thought of myself as that, and then I started writing tunes that, like, you know, wow, like I guess with tapping and exploring in this way, you can separate these voices and actually divvy them up in like an orchestra
Sure.
setting or in a full band setting.
Yeah,
You
different
know,
different
it's
so
tools
cool.
create different you know, things, obviously.
yeah, yeah, you can access different parts of your creativity that maybe were dormant or just created. I don't know how to describe it,
Yeah,
but
taking lessons from you kind of opened that up as well. I felt almost not quite prepared to get to that level yet, but seeing that possibility really just expanded. It's like, whoa, okay, what's possible within my own expression, my own voice, and that's one thing I really took away from it. You know, I do have more the groove, like the feel type aspect of it, but that compositional mindset, something that I look towards, and something that is, you know, ingrained into the bassist just genre in general. It's what we kind of are. We're composers that are musicians and, you know, instrumentalists as well.
yeah, yeah.
And
And it's funny because, like, you know, like learning theory stuff, like when you're not, like when you're mostly, when you've mostly just been playing on your own and not doing the theory thing and you're getting by pretty well and whatever, like it's it's a little daunting
Mm.
and painful to do the theory thing.
Yeah.
I hated it when I was first learning it, for sure. Uh, and there is the real danger of going too far down that rabbit hole and
Sure.
becoming that like really staunch, like, wait a minute, you can't play that, that's not diatonically sound, you know,
Right.
like things
Right.
like that. And it's, you know, that's bullshit.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
it's
You know,
a
so,
passing
you
tone.
know,
That's what I always say. I'm just, you
what's
know,
that?
working my way to it.
Yeah.
it's interesting too, like especially now on bass when so many bassists are at home and you're used to like being that rhythmic backbone and being next to that hi-hat or whatever context you play in. And now musicians and bassists particularly, we talk about it a lot on the show, is just that you have to look at ways to make it more harmonically interesting.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
did my first stream. I know you're a vet at it, John. I did my first one and I was kind of like, you know, at first intimidated by what am I really going to do here. So the first step I did was set up my ditto looper. I said, well, I need to at least have some kind of two
Yeah.
things happening. Uh,
Right.
but it's cool to see bassists start to think outside the box. And these are hopefully techniques and skills that they're going to then be able to apply to whatever group dynamic they're in normally.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. Yeah, and I think in general this is like a great time. You know, the dangers of this whole situation aside, I have a feeling there's going to be like a creative artistic renaissance.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, like there's so many people. Like, I mean, it's all we can do now. You know, like
Get
you
home and
can.
create.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we could still find ways to distract ourselves and be lazy fucks, but like, you know,
I spent
there's.
the first week playing. I think it said I played 41 hours of Civilization 4. I don't believe that because I don't play 40 hours a week, and I haven't played a computer game since. Although I'm deep into chess right now, so I'm
Oh, that's great.
playing these 3-minute games. So every now and then I need 6 minutes, and I'll just go in there and get either pissed off or like, yes, I did it.
Are you playing like online chess, like
Yeah.
against a computer?
Yep. Shout
Do you
out to
find
chess.com.
do you find them to be smarter than humans? And
Oh no,
who
I don't play
wins
against the
turn?
computer. The computers,
Oh,
yeah, they are going to win every time. They
right.
can destroy humans. I do it just to practice and learn, you know, where my weaknesses are. Because a lot of my approach is similar to my playing music, sort of just trusting in the genius of the intuition. Just like
Hmm.
you develop that, and when you make a mistake, you feel it emotionally in your core, and you next time you're in that type of situation, you kind of feel what you want to do and what you don't want to do. I learned that playing against my friend in college. You know, he would sit there and think through the moves, and I would just like look at the board, just make a move, and I would lose a lot. But I feel like I developed my ability to play in an intuitive level, and I think that really informed my playing musically. Where the making mistakes are an inherent part of developing and getting better, and that's what I think John was saying about getting too stuck into the theory. Is you are more averse to making those mistakes that are necessary for, you know, for writing and creating. But then at the same time, you need, in order to know why you made the mistake and why it is a mistake, or why, even though it sounds wrong, it can be right or worked into it. That's where you need to be more well-rounded as well.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny, like speaking of finding silver linings in this time and chess, there's a book called The Art of Learning by Josh Waitzkin. I'm not sure if you know who he is as a chess player, but he was the dude who kind of like replaced Bobby Fischer as like our go-to chess champion to define American superiority in the mental realm. But he wrote this book that was like one of the most spiritually uplifting, brilliant books. And I don't know, I'm awful at chess. I've checkmated one person, and it was like my ex-girlfriend who was like just a little bit worse than me at chess. So she played 5 times, I'd played like 6 times.
We're gonna have to get some chess games going. I'll send you the app.
There you go.
Yeah, good. Yeah, we'll do some. We'll barter for base lessons.
Yeah, there it is. What was his name again? Who wrote that book?
Josh Waitzkin.
Josh, I swear you told me about him when we were taking lessons.
I talk about him a lot. Yeah, like this book like changed my life.
Wow.
It's all about this dude who like from a young age was just like this chess master. He used to go to Washington Square Park and just like wipe the floor with the dudes there who are all awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started doing like tours and kicking people's ass overseas and doing all sorts of stuff, and he became just like the man. He was awesome. And then like pressure got to him when he was like maybe in his early 20s or so, and he lost his love for chess. It became like an ego thing and not a love thing anymore. So he like kind of went out and found himself and started doing push hands Tai Chi instead, but just applied all the things that he was doing to chess, like the mental mechanisms that he was using to get better and learn just to that, and became a master at that.
Wow.
So there's all these. So it's a story about his life, but also interspersed with these lessons that are all like equally applicable to being a musician.
Wow.
So
anything, right? Like, do you think that mastery is from a mental standpoint more than like a physical ability? Kind of, is that like kind of the point of this guy's philosophy?
It's probably the approach that you're taking versus the
right.
What the outcome. I actually I've been doing this meditation thing, and today was about letting go of the results, just taking the action and having the intention, and then just letting things happen. I think that's not without reading the book, but kind of knowing some of what he's getting at. It's the right approach informs everything. It's how you do something. It's not what you're doing or what the result is. How you approach it, and that's going to yield whatever it yields. That's sort of the mystery of life and how things go. But you're gonna like my technique is very honed in and specific, but it just came from just what feels right. What I wanted to do, what I was listening for, and that's what I've developed now. I think it's probably the same with all of us.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like his thing was like thriving in chaos. Like that, that made me think of like, intuition. Like for him, like a lot of people have I guess chess wise, he was saying they'll have a good strong game or a good end game,
Yep.
Or whatever. I'm sorry, a good beginning game or a good end game. Yep. And he was saying he just winged it every time. He was like, I don't know what they're going to be doing, so let me just get really good at thriving in chaos. Like whatever it ends up being, let me improvise, let me try something new, and then figure it out from there. Throw them off.
If you become comfortable in that, then you have an advantage over others in gamesmanship, I suppose. I have this one, I forget what it's called, but it's a very weird beginning game that I do every time. I try to do other starts, but it's just how I do it. And I always notice, even on the 3-minute games, I'll make my first move, and instead of making their first move real quick, it takes like 3 seconds. They're like, wait, okay, now we'll go forward with it. But yeah, when I hearing about Bobby Fischer playing 30 people at a time, I was like, how does he do that? How does he remember the board? And it dawned on me, he doesn't remember the board. He looks at the board as a brand new board every single time and makes the best move he can and wins most of the games because he's good at making the best move every time and playing for position. And he actually, I think it was Bobby Fischer invented, this is on the chess app, Chess 960, where it is all the pawns are normal, but the back line of pieces are arranged in a random order, and each person has the same random order, but it's completely random, and it just makes you think completely differently about the whole setup. And
that's so cool.
Yeah, it's one thing about chess that, and I think life and learning in general, that if there's a standard way of doing it, it probably will bore me.
Yes, I hear that.
And I think that's that's why I like chess, is because you can take a very standard something that's been around for hundreds of years that okay, this is in the 1600s. If you didn't move your king side pawn forward first, you were like an out, like get out here, never play again, like
Right.
not allowed.
Yeah.
And now it's like
Same thing as playing a tritone. You were like sentenced to death.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
The devil's note.
Right. Yeah.
How that all develops, but that's sort of the beauty of it too. And I think that's part of what this whole in between period, I guess, as it could be called, that we're experiencing right now, is sort of allowing everyone to reset and rethink how everything's going. And it's the whole of Phoenix arises from the ashes. We're destroying the old ways of thinking and allowing it to start again anew. And it's like a Noah's Ark flood situation, but for creativity and music. It's wiping everything out. We have 2 of every animal, and we're going to repopulate.
Clean slate. And just the thriving in chaos concept can be applied to this, right? I mean, how do you just accept the situation and adapt and overcome?
Yeah.
I did it by shaving my beard.
Big step, man. I give you a lot of credit for that.
Yes.
And then I'll say it again. We can't appreciate it because you're Dr. Evil in Austin Powers right now. We can't see you. You're this ominous, this ominous figure.
Yeah, John, I told Luke I'm actually at my fiance's grandmother and grandfather's house. I had to fly down to Texas, so I got to experience flying on a plane in a pandemic, which is why I shaved to get the mask to fit better. I'd wanted to for a while. I missed seeing my chin, and my fiance she's still startled when she looks at me. This is 2 days new. I will be getting the mustache back. Shout out to mustaches.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
John, have you ever had a beard or a mustache or anything?
Oh, dude. If you saw me 20 years ago, you would not think I'm the same human being. I had at one point a mustache, just a mustache.
Wow.
And I had a mustache and a full beard. Somewhere between yours now and what Ben's was.
Okay.
and when I grow it out, it's weird. I get like red and black.
Yeah.
Like an even whatever
Distribution.
Yeah. And I used to have also and it's growing back now. I got the hat on, but like massive curly hair. Like it just grows all the way down. Like I used to have hair, like if you straightened it out, it was like down to my stomach.
Oh, I did know that you used to have really long hair. Yeah.
Yeah. I posted a really embarrassing picture of it like a few months ago.
Okay, I might have seen that.
Yeah. Why did I do that?
We've been asking our guests.
Why did I post it? Why did I do it in the first place?
We've been asking our guests to send us a picture to use, so we'll need a picture of you with full beard or hair.
That's gonna need to be the picture for the episode, man. Sorry.
And we'll have to do another podcast after this about hair care for long hair, because I am just at my wit's end.
Oh yeah, man. I cut it off.
Yeah. You got a nice wave.
And now it looks perfect.
Yes.
But you can take your hat off and it looks good. Like it's still that's still a human head. Like I take mine off and I'm like, I look a completely different person. It's the
John, take your hat off.
Unmanageable curly head of hair.
Take off the hat.
Right.
That the people want to see.
No, can't happen.
No.
I got a reputation, man. I'm the guy. I'm that bass player that wears the hat. All right.
Yeah.
Even alone in my house for nobody.
You got the hat. It's like the Scully cap, the Peaky Blinders kind of style.
Yeah, exactly.
I had a hat. Not quite like that. It was a little different. I lived in England and Scotland for a bit when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah. My dad was born and raised in Birmingham, England. And so we've gone back. My little brother was actually born in England. Just we were living there during that time. I was born in New York, but we had gone back and forth. But when we moved back to America, I was in first grade and I had 2 of those little kind of Peaky Blinders, like the golfer caps, you know what I mean? And I remember wearing them in this little school, and the older kids would make fun of me and stuff. And then the next year, those older kids were all wearing those hats. And I was just
You've
I
been
was
a trendsetter ever since, man.
Yeah. I was a Scottish trendsetter as a boy. But how many of those hats do you have, John?
Right now, I have 3 of them, but I've had 7 or 8 of them.
Yeah. And they're all same style.
Same style. Yeah. Well, I used to have I used to have one that I don't know what kind you'd call it, but I had a friend called it the base commander hat, and it was like it was like half baseball cap, but then it had like, not exactly a flat brim, but somewhere between like this and one.
Okay.
And it was cool. It was a cool hat. It was sort of like army looking,
Yeah.
but so that was my hat for a
I'm
while.
imagining one of those like beanies with the propellers without the propeller and beanie.
I had one of those too. Yeah.
Like the brimless flat brims. Have you guys seen them? They're bad.
Yeah.
Isn't that what Gabe wears?
Yeah, let's say it's
It's pretty much true.
Yeah.
You guys have a very unique hat game. You know, the hats are becoming more of a, you know, we like to talk bass and life on this podcast, but it's really just becoming bass and hats.
Yeah, last week was very hat centered.
Very hat. We all had a bunch of hats. We had Tucker from Cycles, and he's
Nice.
a man that I've just seen adorn many different hats, and so we asked him to prepare a few, and he didn't let us down. He brought in like soft robot foam helmets. Like, it was impressive.
That's really, yeah, I mean, this is, I only have this one and another one. I'll show you my other one.
Yeah.
It's not, it's,
Luke, how are we gonna get him to take off his hat? I want to see the hair.
You can keep
oh,
trying.
no, it's not happening.
We'll figure it out.
It's not gonna happen. Oh yeah, I like that one.
That's good.
Yeah. It's a little
Yeah, that's a
puffy.
good one.
So this one I found,
You stole off a Paperboy's head. He was selling extras, and you just grabbed it.
yeah, I was like, who's on that headline? Trump? Get that out of my face. Give me that hat.
I'll take the hat. Fuck the paper.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Get out of here, kid. What'd you learn?
I'm never going to his house again. Every time he takes my hat.
Yeah. Yeah, this one I found at a don't judge me, a bar in Brooklyn.
Nice.
At the end of the night, it was just sitting there.
Wow.
Yep. So I was like, I'm not gonna not take that hat. It's
Yeah.
great.
No, that's how my drummer Rory has acquired most of his hats.
I
From
have-
finding them at venues.
I have a theory about certain clothing articles that they, just like we desire to wear certain clothes and items, they desire to be worn by certain people. And I've lost many a great, found and lost many a great articles of clothing that it was just done me wearing it. It was done being worn by me, and it found someone else, and then another one was ready. It's sort of just travels around and has its own experience.
Check this out, man. On my first or second tour ever with Consider the Source, we were out in Portland, Oregon, and there was this place that sold bamboo sweatshirts, like zip-ups, whatever.
Whoa.
Sweatshirts?
Yeah, like it was made out of bamboo.
Okay.
That sounds
and it was-
uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's scratchy.
Yeah, it did
Hard.
constantly make me bleed, but it looked really good.
Okay, good.
Worth it.
Yeah, worth it. It was great though. No, it was really comfortable. I don't know like what they do to make them, but like that was like the thing there, right? So this thing was awesome, and I loved it to death. And I'm the most absent-minded dude. Like I lose things all the time, and I would leave it everywhere. I loved it to death, and I would just take it off, throw it in a corner somewhere, and then leave, right? And all of a sudden, like, oh wow, where'd it go? Oh no, I lost it. And then someone would say, hey, you left your shirt here. I'm gonna send it to you. That happened to me like 5 times. It would always find its way back to me.
Yep.
Right.
Or like I thought it was gone for good, but like, an ex-girlfriend had it or
Right.
something. The
Right.
thing always found its way back, and I still have it to this
Wow.
day. It's not wearable. It's like ripped up, and it doesn't even. It was like it had like this like built-in shoulder kind of thing, which I would never really go for that kind of thing. But this one thing was so comfortable. But all that's gone. It's just like this like saggy piece of garbage thing, but I still have it.
You curl up with it at night, every night, and just kind
I
of.
have used it as a pillow.
Blank, yeah. I mean, it's
And a
like
blanket.
Ben would say that hoodie wants to be worn by you. It's
Well, it also found times to like take a break from the stress of being left everywhere. To like, okay, I'm just gonna stay at his ex-girlfriend's house for a while, and I'll get back to you. But like, I need a break.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
stressful.
he's like, I love you, and like the way you first looked at me, like I'll never forget that. But you're like,
Precisely.
borderline abusive, so I'm going to be spending some time with your ex-girlfriend,
yeah.
clearing my head, and we'll reconvene if we reconvene, and then we did. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you is that something like a skill you feel like you've developed? Like how is your ability to retain clothing on tour? Because it's something that I've consciously really had to work at to
Oh,
not
I have your.
lose my jacket and my fucking hat
Yeah, did
every
you ever give me your jacket back from 930 Club, Luke?
Dude, I I never lost it. I hid it on myself in the van. I remember that so because it was like end of the night, like me and Ben were hanging, like it was getting to the point where both of our bands were like, all right, we gotta go. Like, it was a great night. So, 930 Club. I'd never played there. It was super fun.
Yeah, it was
and,
awesome.
Great venue.
I was so bummed. I had this leather jacket. It was a gift from my mom from Christmas a couple years ago, and and I was like, why would I do that? Like, how could I lose that jacket? I was barely wearing it tonight. So we're in the van. I forget where we were going the next day, but the whole night I was just sitting in the van, just like so.
I got a text from you at 6 a.m. asking to grab the jacket, I believe.
Dude, all night I was just like, why did I do that? I can't believe I lost it. We got to the hotel, and at that point I had accepted. I was very disappointed in myself. But I go and I grab all my shit out of the back, and there's my jacket. I buried it just like under a suitcase and all my stuff. I ran around that hotel parking lot, swinging it around my. It's like 7 a.m, like people getting up, just woo, like howling at the moon. Like, never lost it.
Yeah, that happened to me today. I was looking for my black sweater that I've been missing for like 4 days now. I'm like, dude, I barely left the house. It's only me here. like what happened? And I've been sleeping on it. Like it's been under my pillow. I've just been sleeping on it for days.
There you go.
That's perfect.
But yeah, speaking of like leaving things, places, shout out to Dopapod because they have returned our stuff after shows that we played with them like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times.
Wow.
Yeah, like there was one festival we did where it was like it was the big what, like a bunch of years ago. We left like a bunch of stuff there, and they just held on to it.
I think I remember hearing that. Maybe you asked us if we could grab it or something, and we were gone or something like that.
Yeah, we rely on the kindness of our friends a lot.
Well, but it's also like with Consider the Source, I feel like it's easier to spot the clothing where most bands like just leave black jacket. You're like, all right, we got like a dashiki here, we got like a white jumpsuit. Like, I think we all know whose band this belongs to.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I guess we have a thing.
Yeah, we did the co-headlining tour with Dopapod a couple years back, and I found a hat upstairs, and I brought it to them, and they were like, just go ahead and keep it, like it's fine, we got more hats. And I guess it was more special, but they were like, it's all good. I promptly lost it a day or 2 later and felt so bad to the point where I still think about it. And I went on their merch site a month or 2 ago and bought another hat to return to them. And I got it, and it's like 3 heads big. So I'll have to, I guess they could all wear it at the same time. But no thought I have a hat for you. I'm sorry I lost it. I still feel bad about it. Forgive me.
That's great.
I'm sure they will. That's pretty epic. I want to get back to basics for a second.
Hey!
That's our pivot point, John.
Yeah, good segue. That was great.
Thank you. So one thing I wanted to talk a little bit about, I know we were talking about the tapping and stuff, and I feel like one of the reasons that you have such a unique and distinct voice on bass is it seems like you're more almost inspired, less by other bassists, but more by kind of books and philosophy and classical composers and all of that. So I just wanted to hear some of like what your biggest composers are, and then I have a specific composer I want to ask you about.
Okay.
I'll let you answer first.
Sure. So composers: Philip Glass, Steve Reich, Debussy,
Cool.
Bach. I mean, I've been a Chopin fan for years, but I'm like really getting into him now. I'm learning a couple of his pieces.
Yeah, I have that pull up on my tabs on my computer. I'll listen to it again right after this.
Which piece is it?
His Nocturne 2.
I love the Chopin Nocturnes.
Oh my god,
so cool.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, John taught me Bach Prelude in G, and I'm trying to relearn that. It's that's the Zales commercial ending. That's how it is.
Oh, that's so funny. I have another student we're working on the Bach cello suite.
You gotta teach me, Luke. I'll teach you how to lose at chess.
It's it's the background on my phone right now.
There it is.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's
to remind myself to work on it every day.
To such an epic, like everything in it is about that final part to me. Like it all builds up to that final moment, but it's
dramatic ascending thing.
Yeah, to make it to there.
Right.
It's so cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So those are some of the like composers that I'm really drawn to.
Cool.
There's more, but those are like the ones that I've been focused on a lot.
Sure,
But
and that makes sense. So who I wanted to ask you about, because I'm just starting to get into this a little bit with a student. I have a student, shout out Nick. He is newer to the bass. He's a good bassist, but he's a classically trained percussionist. And he's very proficient with classical music and notation and writing and all these kinds of things. So we're kind of learning from each other a bit with this, student-teacher dynamic. And he had gotten me back into this composer that I had studied a bit at Berkeley and haven't dove into, but some of the Arnold Shonberg stuff and the 12-tone serialism.
oh yeah, I have
Curious.
one of his books.
Okay, which book do you have?
I don't even remember my.
Yeah, I know he has a couple of them, but I was just curious because one of the things that we started talking about from last lesson is, and I had the same thing. He brought it up, and I was like, oh yeah, that was such interesting music. And if I sit at a piano, I'm not really good at piano, but I love just kind of playing like atonal things. But this concept of serialism and of 12-note tone serialism, where it's basically there's no harmonic or tonal center. All 12 notes in a chromatic scale are of equal importance. So like specifically, it's like you don't repeat one tone until you've played all other 11 tones in the row. But it gets pretty intense when you talk about like composing via this matrix and these sphere grids. And so we were both like, all right, let's work on composing a 12-tone serialism piece for next lesson. And the more I dove into it, I'm like, that's fucking hard to do. So do you have any experience working in that world?
No, I don't. And it's funny, like, as we're talking about it, I'm going to be completely honest. The reason is a subconscious, like, angsty teen reason. It's because my dad, who is like one of my favorite humans, I mean, of all time, he's an amazing human being and an amazing musician. I had a very interesting unconscious relationship with him because in one area where, so he got me started playing bass, and I'm so happy he did. He kept on like trying to get me to do it, and then eventually he like talked me into it by teaching me a Jimi Hendrix song.
Was he a bassist or a guitarist or what?
He's a guitarist primarily, but he plays bass really well too. But anyway, I was like an angsty teen, so he kept on wanting to show me things, and I was like, no, I'm gonna do it on my own. Yeah, and so I started like just learning my own stuff and doing my own thing, and he all that to say, he brought that book to my attention, and I was like, yeah, whatever, Dad. I don't even know that. I'm already playing, Primus.
which
Primus
is
for Dad.
But that's pretty funny. I mean, the Schoenberg stuff is like pretty advanced tonal harmony. I mean, that's crazy. Like that's what your dad is pushing on you. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, he was really cool. Like he and he still is. He's the man. Yeah. But he taught, like, the way I learned bass was like on the job. Like I didn't really study it academically. Mm-hmm. I just grew up around it. So like I would wake up in the morning, my dad's sitting on the couch practicing, or he's recording something, or my grandpa's picking me up from school to drive me to a studio that he's doing a session at or whatever. So I learned a lot just watching him growing up. But also pretty soon after I started playing, like I took to it, partly because I grew up around it. But I was by no means like a great bass player or anything, but he was putting me on gigs with him. So I was getting to gig on like professional gigs with like pretty heavy hitting dudes who were all very patient with me, being a pain in the ass kid.
I can relate to that.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's,
yeah, me too.
He had a very cool, like, supportive but also kind of hands-off approach with me, which I think I really benefited from. But yeah, like I got a lot of really great experiences playing with like some really great people.
Yeah.
But I also had this other part of me that was very like,
a teenager.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I just wanted to do it on my own. I wanted to figure it out on my own. All that.
You're down to
Despite the fact that he was definitely giving me all these experiences that were how I was growing. But
I would just love to hear a John Ferrara solo 12-tone serialism piece.
I'm gonna look it up, man.
I think that would be so. I would love to hear your take on it. I'd be really interested to hear that.
I literally think I have that book like on my bookshelf right now. I just, now that I'm, a man and shedding my angst.
Now you're ready to pick up the book.
I'm ready. I'm full human now.
Well, you're a musician, so you'll always have angst, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. You can always channel it. It was interesting. Like I studied with this. Do you know the a bassist and bass teacher Jim Stenet, John?
I don't think so.
I just asked because I know that he had a Federa like in these lessons that we took, and I'm pretty sure he's a Federa artist. He's an older guy, but I took this like it was like a basic like early on class at Berkeley, this just like sight reading class. And it's always kind of been a weakness of mine. I'm not super proficient at sight reading, and so it was a pretty basic class and simple reading. But he was a pretty advanced bass player, so I think to make it interesting for him, he wrote this book, and I've been trying to find it everywhere. I can't find it either. I'm going to see if I can order it online if it exists.
What's it called?
I don't even know what it's called. I just know that it's written by Jim Stenet and that it's basic reading, but it's all done from this 12-tone serialism. It's all written in whole tone stuff, you know? So it's like the reading is easy, but the harmonic stuff is pretty complex and weird. And it was cool. I think he just did that to make it more interesting for himself, but it kind of introduced my ear to that. And I love the whole tone sound. I love that major third, diminished fifth, that kind of ambiguous tonality.
Sure.
And then when you get deeper into it, Shonberg, he hated the term atonal, which makes sense because that means without tone, and there's all tone. It's like the point of this 12-tone serialism is that every note's equal. So it's not like there's no notes. They're all there.
They're all there.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. Yeah. Going back to like, the way a lot of people look at theory is that there are rules.
Right.
Like, says who? Like it's good that we have them. And believe me, like when I teach, Ben knows this, like I'm a stickler for the modes.
Yeah.
I talk about them every single lesson, and I still use them. It's like the leading principle for me about how I write and conceive music and perceive music, right? But like, at the end of the day, humans were like, all right, we have these vibrations, let's organize them in a way that makes sense, and every culture organizes them differently. It's not like, they're good rules, they're great guiding lines. We should totally learn some of them. I do teach it, and I'm pretty strict with it to an extent, but it's also like, after a point, wait a minute, so why are we learning all this?
You learn it to forget it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like like the multiplication table. That's what I tell my students when I'm teaching modes or arpeggios. Like, you want to just know them without having to think about it, so that when you're trying to do other things, it's just kind of there in the background periphery, and it's just it makes sense, and then you can choose to ignore certain things or choose to do something differently, rather than just like, oh, whoops, I did something differently.
Yeah. Josh Waitzkin, I was talking about him before, he calls it numbers to leave numbers. Like you cram everything, you cram it, and then you just forget about it, and then it becomes integrated. And that's the thing. At that point, it's like, it's almost not like the word choose is interesting because, it is that in a way, but it's also more intuitive at that point. It's not even a choice, it's a feeling.
Right.
You've run through these things so many times that the emotional whatever that you got from them is now just able to be put back out like that.
Well, it's trusting your instincts, right? But you have to develop those instincts first.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the whole concept of learn the rules before you break them. That was like something as I keep diving into the Shonberg stuff. He's written books on harmony and theory, and he's very into it as well. But he dove so deep into it that then he gained that ability or that desire to break all the rules and create this whole new complex system. And then he created this set of rules and then just went to go on and break all of those as well.
Right. Yeah. It's like this book, Blink, by Malcolm Gladwell.
Right. Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's a brilliant book. But it's all about intuition and how we develop it. And it talks about musicians, and it talks about like one was an interesting study. It's kind of a bleak study, but it was like a guy who did a bunch of experiments on relationships and physical manifestations of being content in one or not. And he did so many studies on couples that without running any more experiments, he's just like, okay, I could tell by that facial expression and that body movement that they're not going to last another month.
Yeah, like 30 seconds he could tell.
Yeah, and he could predict it with like 95% accuracy.
Yep. Wow.
But the whole book is about that. It's about intuition and how much of it is innate and how much of it is developed, and
we're building up enough
kind of intuitions are things like biologically inborn, and what things are things you learn over time. It's a really cool book. Really
build up enough data points that the data is sort of doesn't matter. It's like you have all that noise and then whatever cancels out, and there's just like, okay, this is poking out from the noise. So that's the data, and all of that work and that research is the ground level foundational noise, the cosmic microwave background, if you will. And then you just have like that, poking out of like, okay, this is where it's different. This is where it is, kind of pokes its head up above the water.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's super interesting. So we've got some good book recommendations from you here, John. That I really want to look into this Art of Learning book.
Oh, dude, it's unbelievable.
Are there what would you say? Do you have, if you have to pick like 3 books that kind of have helped informed your playing or just life philosophy or anything like that? If I had to put you on the spot, desert island list, I guess, if you will.
Sure. Well, that's one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that book, I talk about it all the time. So there's that one. There's Effortless Mastery by Kenny Werner.
Right.
Kenny
Werner. Yeah, he's a jazz pianist who wrote this book about, it's like half Buddhism, half music. There's even like chapters on specifically how to meditate. And, he talks about like in a very straightforward and even at moments kind of aggressive way, but it's to be deliberately provocative, it's to kind of say like,
wow,
yeah, you're a musician. Who cares? Why is it such a big deal? Why are you putting so much pressure on yourself? Like, you think it's really important? Put a bag over your head for 30 seconds and see how much music matters to you at that point, or for a minute or whatever. He says things sometimes in a way that's like that. That's like, oh yeah, you're right. Is it cool? Okay, so now that we're, back at square one with this, like, let's look at music with from a healthier perspective. Like it's there to, help us grow, help other people grow and do these things. And like, I don't know, he has all these really cool exercises like go to your instrument and just commit to playing 5 minutes of just completely unfocused practice. Because like, I think we could all relate to at some point in our lives, whether it's in our past or currently happening, when we practice, we are just, our mind is somewhere else, or we're watching a show while we're doing it, or, we'll play for a couple minutes, we'll just run over things that we know, or songs that we like, or just jam out. But we're not like learning necessarily. We're just kind of either having fun or not paying fully, all of our attention to it. So he's like, do this. Commit to 5 minutes a day for the next few days of just playing something very simple, connecting to what you're playing, and don't do anything else. Just focus on it.
Right.
And his whole thing is like, if you do that, you're going to kind of see like the joy in it. And then next day you might naturally want to do 10 minutes. And sometimes you might just sit there for 5 minutes, just focus. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, I want to keep doing this. Right. It kind of brings you back to like your beginner's mind, right? Which is like,
that's something you and I were talking about, John, in our messages recently. And this is exactly what I need to hear right now. I'm very glad I have to get that book for sure.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's always, and that's for performing or writing or recording or whatever you're doing in your musical life. It's like doing your best to always start from square one. No matter where you're at, no matter what's on your plate.
What's
just
that innocent kind of childlike approach is where you're going to gain the most growth, and the joys of humanity in the conscious brain is imagination and excitement, and we play music. We don't work music. That's literally called playing music, and that's getting in touch with that. As I'm trying to teach more and get more into it and learning more as well, I acknowledge within myself I don't practice. I don't like to sit down and practice, but that's not what I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to develop and grow. I'm not trying to, it's the angsty teen thing of like, oh, well, why do I need to do schoolwork? It's like, well, this isn't schoolwork. This is something I'm choosing to do, but it's still, I have these older patterns that have built up in my life that, keep a distance between, that's, I think, why I got more into piano, because, it's like, well, this isn't something I have to do. This is something I can do. And still expressed the joy of music, and definitely brought me back more into bass and music in general. But now that I want to go back into the bass as well, and just picking it up and just playing around with it is a joy. When I sit and actually do it, it's just like, this is great. This is awesome. And John, you were explaining how you also kind of fell out of passion with it for a little bit before Consider the Source. And now you're back, better than ever, and just like really diving in and loving it. And that brought me such joy to hear. And it really inspired me too, because you're one of the best bassists I know. And, you have this work ethic that feels effortless. You know, yes, you're working on this song for 3 months, but it's a joy. You know, it's like the challenge is, it's like climbing Everest. It's like, yeah, I'm going to get to the top and I might die on the way there, but hell yeah, you know?
Yeah, it's the process. It's just yeah, I think it's like it's just a matter of like appreciating that we can all do this, you know, like we can all play music, especially like at this point, which by the way, you know, like, I haven't really talked to you guys in a while, but like kudos to both of you for your bands just kicking ass.
Oh, thanks, man.
You know, yeah, it's really cool to see. I mean, you know,
Well, John, we first met you guys, Jeremy, through Funky Fest, which was the
yeah,
fall Dome Fest, supposed to be at the same original property, the Domes of Beltsville. But there was a hurricane that year, so we moved it to our house in, not our house, but HOUR,
yeah.
on Howard and right above Joe Square Pizza where it used to be.
I remember, yeah,
Great pizza, great
very
little
pizza.
spot.
John
But yeah, you guys came in there and just
knows his pizza, man.
Yeah.
That's
he
his
does,
deal
yeah.
right there.
Yep. You just considered the source the fuck out of our crowd, who were, you know, like a jam, kind of like fun. There was a lot of kids there that didn't even recognize, that I think were just there for like, oh cool, there's a party going on, and
Yeah.
they came in and were just like, whoa, you know, this kind of it blew everyone's mind. I remember talking to you after and just how, you know, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed you were, and you know, it's like your first. You know, I mean, I'm sure you'd played within the jam scene before, but you just kind of were like doing your thing, and it felt so cool to be, you know, feel like peers with you. And I saw Yodo in the same room, and that was mind blowing. I was like standing right next to Michael Travis and Jason Hahn. I was like, they're right here playing in this small little area with us, and that's one beautiful thing about the jam scene as it is. It's, you know, or the jamily. Like we get to connect, and yeah, we haven't talked in a while, and really connected, which is another great thing about this whole experience. Is, you know, I'm starting to feel closer to everyone. I've been talking to Tucker from last week.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Still connecting with him and everything. But yeah, to have that, you know, within the fans and the bands, and just the idea of abundance, and there's not a sense of competition. It's like we're all in this together. We're all doing the same thing with different expressions, and there's enough love out there and enough, you know, support for everyone to thrive. And we all inspire each other in different ways. And you know, you see, you know, like the comedy scene in Boston in the '80s, or you know, other things like that, where it's everyone around just kind of bringing, you know, all ships rise with the tide kind of situation. And it's
Yeah.
cool to reconnect with you.
Yeah, yeah, you too. Yeah, and it's cool that you know, like the three of us, and just like it seems like in the scene in general, there is that kind of community, not really competitive.
Right.
In a lot of other arts and a lot of other genres in music, there is that, you know.
Well, it's a friendly competition. You know, like we're competitive in that we all want to do the best we can do. You know, I do things differently than you do, and there's certain things I won't be able to do better, or you know, whatever. But there's certain things that then, okay, well, why don't I just do the best I can within this small range on the fretboard that I work in? Like, okay, I'm not going to explore the same way, but like, okay, let's delve into that, and you know, we're all expanding, you know, the what we can do within music. And yeah, I really look at this whole music thing in an esoteric way. Like, same thing with the clothes. Like, music is its own, you know, entity and energy, and it wants what it wants, and it brings in what it brings in, and you know, we sort of serve it, and you know, we're like the priests or the preachers of you know, when we're at the church, like people are looking at us, but we're not, you know, we're just channeling that energy and sharing it with everyone, instead of you know, just trying to create, like, look at us, you know, look at what I can do. That
Yeah.
never, you know, I never liked metal or technical music when I was younger, because like there's no feel there. Now I know there's bands like Chan and, you know, Pliny, where they're intensely amazing, and you consider the source as well. But I remember your guys said at Catskill Chill, 2015, when the sky was literally falling. Like,
Yeah, I remember
came over the
that.
loudspeakers and said, "Take shelter, take down your easy ups, everything." And you know, it was the middle of the day, and you guys were like, "Well, fuck it, we're still playing. There's no storm yet." And you guys shredded so hard that literally, I went to the greenhouse, and looked at the radar, and they said like, "Yeah, this huge storm is coming," and it just broke up around the festival. I was like, they literally shredded so hard, it shredded the storm, and it was a
We got a
beautiful day.
reputation for that.
And you
Yeah.
guys
That's
grooved harder
awesome.
than I've ever seen you groove, or most bands ever groove. Like, I
Wow.
was in awe, and I have
Thank
been. That's the dragon I've been seeking from you guys ever since.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's funny. That's happened to us at like festivals our entire,
Yeah,
like since we started doing them. It's
I
very fun.
remember thinking that and then experiencing it ourselves as well. Where my philosophy was funk brings out the sun. Same thing happened at workout where I think it was the first year at Legend Valley. Same thing, storm coming, everything's gonna go to shit, like it's all over. And we played a set, and it just the sun just came out. Also at summer camp, the year of the when I literally called a rainbow like Babe Ruth. We got to the site, in the van we'd been driving from the airport. Went to the hotel and got to site like early, and so that the crew could set up. And I had this like biscuit sandwich that just made me feel so sick. I was laying in the back of the van, like in the trunk, just like curled up with the AC on because it was so hot and I had nowhere to go. We had no campsite, no tent, anything. And then yeah, I was supposed to like, the skies were just gonna open up, and we're standing by the side of the stage about 10 or 15 minutes before, and I look over and I look where the sun is, and I just point to the security guy. I'm like, hey, right over there, let me know when there's a rainbow. And we're standing on the side of the stage, and about 30 seconds before we go out, like we're getting ready to go out, and he's like, hey, there's the rainbow. Look, I'm like, guys, let's fucking hit it.
Bam.
Epic picture of the rainbow. And
You guys did like a photo shoot with that rainbow, didn't you? Were there pictures that came from that, or?
Yeah, I guess there were pictures from stage, but like from our perspective, it was over the entire crowd, and it was 5,000 people in that field. Like it was so packed, and it was this incredible, transcendent, magical experience. And I started as very atheistic in my exploration of life. I'm deeply into physics, and that led me into quantum mechanics, which led me into a book called The Tao of Physics by Fritjof Capra, which completely blew my mind, and was around the same time I read Be Here Now by Ram Dass. It was like, this can't be real. This can't be a true way of expressing life. And, whether it is or isn't, it's, it is. And that as I've gotten older, I've become more and more agnostic from these situations. Like I can't explain the mystery and what's going on, but I can revel in it, and I can appreciate it and consider it, as it were.
Yeah. I kind of followed a similar trajectory. I was very like, I guess going back to being angsty, I was very
Angsty,
like,
yeah, yep.
no, there's no God, stupid. Whatever. No, but I think Eastern thought is the thing that kind of just shaped me more over the years. And like Luke, you asked before about like composers and other things that have like informed my music. And also other books, right? Like that was another book.
We need one more.
Yeah.
One more book, yeah.
The Issue at Hand by Gil Fronsdal, which is not like like the most popular Buddhist book on Buddhism, but it should be. It's an amazing book, and it's just these series of essays by this guy Gil Fronsdal, who's a teacher in Northern California, Buddhist practitioner. Amazing, like way of conveying the human condition in a way that's just we can all understand, and just an amazing energy. Just you listen to him give talks, or you just read his book, and life changing. So this book was like you could buy it, and you could just, or you could even just download it. He has it for free, like as a PDF. You could just go look up that book by Gil Fronsdal, and it's absolutely incredible. I used to buy copies of it to just give people. If I thought that they needed it or that it would benefit them, I used to have like several of them at a time, and I would be like, dude, read this book. Here you go.
Yep.
Have them like at the merch table, right? You should have like a Consider the Source library that you guys offer, like the books.
Yeah.
A book exchange where people bring in a book, take one, leave one.
Yeah.
A free library type situation.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that.
Consider the Source library, man. You guys could do it. I don't need credit or anything. That's I'll check it out. I'll read. I'm gonna check out all this stuff.
Yeah.
Your bibliography.
Yeah, your bib. Hey, John, I did have another question for you that this is really important. Yesterday, as we're recording this, it is May 5th. Oh, happy Cinco de Mayo, guys, once a year. Yesterday was May the 4th. I know you guys are big Star Wars fans. I saw your post today, May the Source be with you.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you, a lot of time when we talk Star Wars, people ask like, what's your favorite movie? I think usually the answer is Empire, right? It's kind of the most epic. But I wanted to ask if you had a favorite Star Wars character and who that was.
So here's the thing. So like my relationship to Star Wars was more when I was a kid, and I was obsessed. I was like super, super, super into it. But Gabe is really the big Star Wars fan in the band.
Right.
Yeah, he's like, that's like he is the archetype of that geek.
He's the Sith Lord. He has the double-sided lightsaber. I get it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's perfect.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen the pictures from Gabe's house. I've seen his like Star Wars collection. It's impressive.
Yeah. But I mean, probably Darth Vader, man. I mean, like he's awesome, and also like for me, there's like an emotional connection because of when I was a kid, my well, there's a lot of artists in my family. My great grandma used to make ceramics, so she would like work with clay like all the time. Her whole basement was just
Oh, cool.
like everywhere, just all sorts of different things. But she made us, me and my brother, this Darth Vader ceramic that she put a light in it, and then it just like it shined out like different lights, whatever. It was pretty trippy, pretty cool.
Cool. That's awesome.
And I ended up giving it to Gabe like a bunch of years ago because I was like, like you're the like I used to watch movies on repeat when I was a kid. I was like super into it, and now like my geekdom is more in like video games and Game of Thrones. Those are like the things that are like, that's me. I'm like so insanely
a little more on the fantasy side than the sci-fi side.
Yeah. But yeah, I was like, dude, like I actually gave him a couple of Star Wars things. I also had like a big poster from like way back then, like when the movies first came out. Wow. That was like some kind of promo poster. It's probably worth a lot. Why the hell did I give it to him? It's probably worth it. But
yeah, I have a poster right now. I can turn the computer. My uncle sells posters, and I've always been really into movie posters and artwork. But it's from Revenge of the Jedi, before it was Return of the Jedi, before George Lucas decided that revenge wasn't in the Jedi idiom mindset as much. But it's very dark, intense, like a lot of red and black, and it's Revenge of the Jedi. That's probably worth a lot too. I'm never going to give that to Gabe.
Yeah, don't give it to Gabe. He won't even offer you a dime. He knows what it's worth.
Maybe I'll trade him for the poster you gave him. We'll see. I'll see what he's got.
Yeah, maybe I'll buy it from you.
Yeah.
John, you still have your shitty ripped up sweatshirt, so you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's all I need.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So Darth Vader. That's not what I was expecting. I was maybe expecting a Yoda from you, but Darth Vader, cool.
Yeah, well, I do have, let me show you this. Yeah. I have a pewter metal collection. Speaking of other areas where I'm a total nerd.
He's going into the vault, baby.
There he goes. I hope he comes back with the hair out, though. Just waiting for it.
Oh, yeah. There he is. Oh, that's nice.
Little pewter metal Yoda.
Yeah, wow.
Tell you what, Gabe's not getting that one.
Yeah, dude, you got to keep that locked up.
Keeping that one, yeah.
I had a friend give me a mug that had a picture of Yoda, and it said, Yoda, best bass player ever.
Wow.
So, John, I think I'll give it to you.
Adorable.
That's your payment for being on the podcast, John.
There you go. Wait, we get paid for this?
That's all I ever wanted.
I've been paying all of our guests. You haven't been?
No, I've been getting paid. I've been getting posters. I usually ask them for like an old, vintage movie poster each time. So
that's a good idea.
Yep. Tucker gave me a hat.
About that part.
Brownie gave me a lecture on Phrygian.
Yeah, so John, you've given us the knowledge of book. You've given us good book recommendations, man.
Yeah, they're great. They really are great. You should definitely read them.
No,
yeah, I'm sure the listeners on this podcast everyone's looking for new books, and especially musicians and bassists that are looking to kind of, up their game and explore some new concepts. So
our old drummer Dan had a Kindle on the road, and he had a book on it called The Untethered Soul. I forget who it's by, but that became my Bible, and I got a Kindle that Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever it is my parents gave me stuff for. And I still have that book on there, and I will be throwing these on as well. It's nice to just pop in and read, especially when you're in a van or like traveling just in between sound checks and stuff, and just want to kind of check out. So these books are going to be very useful and helpful. But let's also just be honest. This has been, as much as we want to play, not having to tour is awesome to take a break from. I've been having a schedule. I'm trying to take naps. Get a nap in the middle of the day instead of like.
Yeah, boy.
I know.
It's been a wild and crazy time of just centeredness.
I hear you. Same for me, man. Yeah, like I feel a little guilty because I think subconsciously I was like I needed this break.
Yeah, and I was talking to my bass teacher that too, like how awesome it, scary, and like my prayers go out to everyone and everything like that. But like, yeah, don't feel guilty. Like, use the time wisely. Like, don't waste your time feeling bad about it. Do good things with it. This is the time. This is the time to grow and to hatch out of the the shell that we've created around ourselves.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. I've been reaching out to family and friends that I haven't talked to in a while, and strangers. I've just been like, people are more likely to like reach out these days.
Yeah,
I
my
feel.
mom said it's like a blizzard, like a several month blizzard with no snow.
Yeah,
Everyone's
yeah,
really friendly, like, hey, how you doing? You know, like, oh, it's cool. Hey, let's check this out. You know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I feel like shaving the beard. I'm. It was my cocoon, and I'm now coming out as a butterfly. You know.
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah. I feel that vibe from you big time, Ben.
Yeah, yeah. And John, we'll get that hat off you yet.
yeah,
Maybe next interview, John.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know, I look forward to having you back on here and talking more. Next time we bring you on, I want to have you show us, you know, your looping setup more and
Yeah.
talk more gear stuff too, because that's something I'm very interested in. You know, I just got a looping pedal. I use Ableton, and just to hear your process, I think would be great for everyone else and for me as well.
for sure.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
But yeah, this has been really great.
Yeah. Thanks,
I
John.
think I have to get moving on my day. I definitely want to do this again, and I really look
Yeah.
forward to watching this later and checking it out.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I
And so,
appreciate
John,
that.
people can find your album, A Harmony of Opposites. It's kind of everywhere you can get digital music, right? iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, all
Mhm.
that stuff.
Yeah, yep, exactly. All the main avenues. My duo album is mainly on Bandcamp.
Cool.
You can also just go to johnferrarmusic.com. I got all my stuff there, all links to everything.
Yeah, great.
Ferrara.
Yep.
Got it.
Do you have any other live streams planned coming up, or just kind of see when they happen? Obviously, you'll announce them.
Yeah, nothing planned yet, but I'm going to announce them pretty soon.
Cool.
I'm going to be doing more solo ones, and tomorrow night on the CTS page, I'm doing one about like, you know, just staying well while you're in quarantine,
Cool.
like exercising and eating healthy, which is like I keep on saying that my life right now is a mixture between Groundhog's Day and the first 20 minutes of Old Boy. I'm just like alone in my apartment, just working out. Because I'm like, what else am I gonna do?
Wow, that's an
Working out for
intense,
something. I don't know what, but
that John, that's the Harmony of Opposites right there, right? Those are pretty drastically different movies.
yet it's exactly who I am right now.
That's amazing.
The Venn diagram of those two things is John Ferrara.
Yeah, dude. Old Boy, classic.
Classic,
Yeah,
unbelievable.
it's a good one. Anyone hasn't seen that, check it out.
I hated the remake. Did you see the remake?
I didn't like the remake. No.
Because they tried to one of the best parts of Old Boy is that one shot of the fight scene where it's just going incredible.
Yeah.
And they tried to redo it, and it was just like it's so cool because it's just that like linear panning, you know,
Yeah,
shot.
it's like you're playing a video game.
I know, yeah,
You know?
right, exactly. And then in the new one, they just I don't know, like they tried to make it. It was just it looked too choreographed, and it looked more like a music video than a fight scene. And the original Old Boy, that scene is very like visceral and intense.
Oh man, it was amazing. It was, yeah, that movie was untouchable. You just leave it.
Yeah.
You just make.
However, John, you got to compose a what is it, a 12-note tone serialism solo piece over that scene. That's your homework.
Yes, yes, I love it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Whatever me trying to do that right now, not knowing what it is, and the chaos of it would probably go pretty well with it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
a live scoring of Old Boy by John Ferrara using Shonberg's 12-tone serialism. That's what we want next time, bud.
Stay tuned.
That'll be it. And one last thing for you, Luke. You did. You were doing a podcast. Maybe you're still doing on horror movies.
Yeah, we're doing it less, but we just did an episode last week. I also want to talk to you about being on that podcast. Cool.
Yeah, I would totally do it because it's almost all I watch. Movies.
Okay, cool.
For a long time it was like, even if they were like terrible, it would just be like, all right, I need to do it. I've been like that since I was a kid. I love horror movies. I watch them all the time.
Angsty John and the Horror Movie Podcast.
Well, so if we were to do one off, do you have like a favorite franchise or horror movie or one that you would want to do in particular?
Well, the one that I'm like pretty stoked on that came out in the last couple of years was It Follows.
Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah, I love that movie. I thought it was great, and I think like there's a lot of horror movies that come out that are not great, but you still kind of watch them anyway.
Sure.
But that one just had such its own thing. It was so cool, so well done.
Yeah. Have you checked out the last episode we did was on some Lovecraft movies? Have you seen The Color Out of Space with Nick Cage?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I recommend it to both you guys. I recommend it to anybody. It's called Color Out of Space. It's technically 2020 film, but 2019 I think it was theatrically released. It's based on a short Lovecraft story. It's by Richard Stanley and Spectre Vision. So Nick Cage's movie Mandy that came out a year or two ago, that was like this really intense psychedelic visual movie. It's like that, but it's a little bit less intense on like the art house kind of element. I like it more. It's more of just like a creepy farmhouse in the woods, alien shit, meteors, and Nick Cage going full Nick Cage. It's incredible.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll check that out. And I might have just read a quick headline, and it was like right when I woke up, and I can't really count anything in the first 15 minutes of me being waken up as being actually real. But I saw that Peel is a Lovecraft movie.
I see somebody told me that as well, and I don't know. I haven't heard anything, but that you're the second person that's mentioned that to me. That I can't wait. I love Jordan Peele's entry into horror, man. I was a big fan of Get Out. I was also a big fan of Us. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, we'll talk.
All right, good, man. I'm gonna have you on the pod.
Sounds like they're after you, John. You better get moving.
Yeah. It's that Long Island life.
That's so funny.
We'll be in touch.
It's funny that you mentioned it too, John, just because I was talking to my girlfriend Jen last night, and I was like, we're having John Ferrara on the podcast tomorrow, and she's like, Dead Last podcast, and I was like, no, like the Back to Basics. So I mean, like that's a good, like you're right though, like he would be, I should have him on that one as well.
Yeah, no, I'm super into horror, man. That's,
all right, great, because you're a Stephen King fan too, right?
Yeah.
Stephen King. All right, so before we go too off the deep end in the horror, I don't want to have too much of like a Venn diagram overlap with the podcast. So.
Yeah, right.
I'm enjoying it a lot.
Ben, you can go on your day. We're gonna continue.
Yep. I got a book I can read.
Yeah, exactly. You can just read, and we're just gonna veer off into horror podcast here.
All right. Yeah.
Go with me. That would be that would be actually great. Just Ben, just like reading some philosophy.
Yep.
Talking about not base stuff.
Wait, ready? Here, I'm gonna just.
Yeah. As you're talking to your super villainy.
Yeah. James Bond lair.
I also thought it was funny how like when you finally were able to see you, Ben.
Yeah.
When it was finally like in the dark and the light, like we started talking about like Buddhism and.
Yeah, and then there's like light shine down here.
Rainbows and all sorts of stuff. It's like wow.
I thought that there was one moment where you were just a dark silhouette and you said something about and applying to like Buddhism, and you just leaned forward and all of a sudden it was just white behind you. I think this is going to be one of the most interesting visually Back to Basics episodes.
The production level is going through the roof here. Yeah, I've had a feeling for a while that everything is going according to plan. It's just we don't know who's planning it.
Whoa.
And with that. Back to basics. John, we're gonna play some chess. I'm really excited to reconnect with you. Luke, go fuck yourself, and we'll talk soon. This will be probably put out on next Monday, right?
Yeah, and and I'm gonna hit you up as well, John. I'd love to take some lessons as well, man. So I'm gonna get active about that.
I love that, man. Yeah, hit me up.
Yeah, John, we should just get together and like play chess game while we're doing bass lessons or something like that too.
Yeah, we'll do like 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off.
There you go. It's like the chess boxing.
No.
Oh, you haven't heard chess boxing? They do the same thing. It's one round of boxing, and then I think it's a 5 or 10 minute chess game, or maybe 5 rounds. So they're like in between playing chess, they're beating each other up, and it's whoever either knocks the other person out or checkmates the other person, whichever comes first.
Whoa,
I like that. It's like brute force versus the brain.
Yeah.
Not to say there's a ton of mental play in boxing, but.
Oh, I thought you meant the other way around.
Yeah, well, the way I play chess, I just aggressively throw the pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
just like cut up knuckles,
yeah,
like
I blind them,
checkmate someone,
and I win.
There needs to be a movie on that with like Hugh Jackman.
I'm into it.
Yeah,
Nick Cage could be the queen.
I was thinking. I don't know why I went to Hugh Jackman. I think Hugh Jackman versus Nick Cage is the matchup we're looking for in this movie.
You hear that, guys? You hear that, Hollywood?
We got it. We got concepts. We got ideas.
Can I leave you with one last very funny story just because you mentioned Hugh Jackman?
Please.
So when I was when CTS played in India, it wasn't really CTS. It was like us, like the three of us with another group. But anyway, one of the people that was assigned to showing us around was actually like this guy who was like an Indian movie star.
Oh wow.
So like yeah, people knew him. He was kind of a celebrity over there.
Like Bollywood kind of movies.
What's that?
Bollywood kind of movies.
It wasn't Bollywood, but it was I mean, honestly, I never really got a sense of what it was. I was the whole experience there was just very like,
Yeah, but
whoa, this is all crazy, and I was just, I didn't think to ask really,
Sure.
but he was getting recognized everywhere, whatever. But he took us to a sports match called Kabaddi, which is like the big sport there, which it's huge. It's nationwide. It's like football here, baseball here, but like no one knows about it outside of it.
never heard of it.
Yeah, never heard of it.
Yeah, no, never heard of it. Yeah.
We kept on like seeing it like on the TV when we were eating lunch and whatever, and like looking around at all the other people that were part of this tour that we were doing, and everyone was just like, "What the hell is this?" It's a bunch of grown men with like shorts that are, let's be honest, too high. It's pretty much just playing tag. They're just like, it looks like they're just grown men, just like 5 or 6 guys just trying to touch this other guy, and he's just trying to swat their hands away. It's like, this is a game? Like, this is like a game that grown men play that everyone loves? Okay, anyway. So, anyway, we want to know what it's about. So we asked him, he's like, how about I bring you guys to a game? We're like, are you kidding me? It's like, and he brings us to like the best seats. It's like sitting like, like
Behind
those
home plate.
and like a like a baseball game or whatever.
Right.
We're like, yeah, this is great. So anyway, at one point, this guy, he looks over at me and he starts like whispering to his friend or whatever. I'm like, it's weird. And he comes up to the guy who's like our like showing us around, right? And he's like, he asks him a question and he starts laughing. And he looks over to me. He's like, hey man, he thinks you're Hugh Jackman. And I'm like, what? Like, are you kidding? Like, yeah, he's like totally. He's like, what should I tell him? I'm like, tell him I'm Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Did
you sign autographs?
Yeah. Well, he like like gestured for a picture, and I was like, yeah, sure, man, come on over. So got a picture of him, and to this day, this dude thinks he met Hugh Jackman at a Kabaddi match.
Amazing.
And he met.
And you think you're not Hugh Jackman?
Eric Weird jazz fusion world music band.
It's funny. I heard
That's
Jackman told me a story about he got recognized as John Ferrara from Consider the Source once.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Who did?
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Oh, he did.
It happens to him a lot.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be a very chill and approachable guy. Lives in New York. My dad one time was working in a building that he was in, and apparently he was just in the elevator with his dog. He was like, all right, good day. However Hugh Jackman talks. But I'm sure that you helped perpetuate that reputation he has of being a nice guy, John. So good job. People in it, oh, Hugh Jackman is the greatest guy. So nice.
Yeah, he's amazing. Just ask me.
Wears great hats too.
Great hats. Great hats.
Hugh. That's epic.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll leave you with that.
I love it. Thank you for that.
I look forward to next time, John.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, buddy. Stay well. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.
All right, peace, man.
All right. That went great.
That was great, man. You know that guy is a wealth of knowledge. You know we were gonna get some good nuggets there.
I knew it would get more technical, and I also knew it would get it would be kind of jovial and like fun and cool. He's such a nice guy and
and philosophical too, right? I mean, he's such you guys are both such students of life. I'm just here to provide comic relief and talk about occasional Nick Cage.
You do your research, which I like. I did not even. I mean, I've been busy obviously these past couple days, but
traveling. Yeah.
We're a good team there, kid.
You sure are, buddy.
Right.
Back to basics. Big thanks.
Back to basics. It's been good to get back to basics after that non-week off because we haven't said it's going to be every week, but it could be.
It could be. Yeah, I think as long as we're keeping it consistent. Obviously, we both have different schedules, and it can be tough to do every week, but I think it's a good goal to set if it's every other week, every now and then. But, people have been expecting to see him on Mondays at 2:30, so whether it's every week or every other week, we're just going to keep trying to be consistent about it.
And tune in next week. I'm going to shave the middle part of my head.
Really?
Yep. No.
Are you going to cut your hair?
I'm actually going to have Cece's mom do it. Amy is cutting Mark's hair, and I think not short, but I need it just a little more controlled, and why not?
Yeah. Hey, man, match the bare chin there.
Someone said, "You lost your beard. It looks like it went straight to your head."
Yeah.
I like that.
You look like less of a wizard, but you have a very nice, well-defined chin. I have to congratulate you on.
I haven't seen it in 8 years. I think I'm not joking.
8 years, huh?
I think so. Last time I shaved and cut, I didn't even shave it clean. I had a big old like full beard. There's a video of it I posted on Facebook recently of I had a like one a day picture or every day where I take a picture of myself every day and it did a time lapse like automatically for me, and it was of the beard growing. And then I had gotten arrested after a show in Waldorf, Maryland. It was Greg's birthday on Halloween, and driving back, and our friend was driving. He was sober, but we were smoking a blunt like as we were leaving. And Waldorf's where Good Charlotte's from, I think, but it's kind of like bumfuck Maryland a little bit. Shout out to bumfuck Maryland. Yeah, and yeah, we got pulled over. I took the fall for everyone. They kept finding, they found my stuff first, like, a bowl and a grinder, and then they went to someone else's backpack, found another grinder. Oh, yeah, that's mine too. I put it in their backpack, and I went back in for, I could have accepted 18 months unsupervised probation, and I was like, I'm a touring musician. Is there any other option? And I didn't even pay for a lawyer. I was like, it's weed. I'll take whatever is going to happen. So be it. I don't have a job. If I get arrested for weed, it would have sucked. But he's like, yeah, we had someone, kept getting arrested and breaking their probation. The judges finally, they came in. He's like, do you want to just go to jail for a couple days and then be good with it? And so I said, well, let's ask the judge when I get in there. So we go in. He's like, okay, so 18 months unsupervised probation. What do you say? I was like, can I just go to jail for a little bit instead? And he's like, yeah, about 48 hours. Like Thursday. When do you want to go in? And I was like, well, Papadozzi is playing Saturday night. So how about I work Wednesday. Can I go in Thursday at 1 p.m.?
The classic response. So you can go to jail. When would you like to go in? Well, Papadozzi said.
Yeah, so let's see. I got it. And they were in my dream last night, too. It was a weird dream. I recorded it. I'll have to tell you about it. Gave Mike Healy a big old hug, but he was half Brock Butler. It was very weird. Wearing a fedora.
Wow.
Oddly enough.
Quite a dream.
But yeah, for that court appointment, I figured I would shave down this ridiculous, obviously a terrorist and like bad for society type of beard situation, and shaved it down. Judge, I don't think looked up once. I get in there, he's just looking at the paper. Everything's down here. I was like, I could have kept the fucking thing, but that's the last time I shaved, and it didn't even go down to the chin. And I think my girlfriend's terrified now.
So is that what you did? Did you go to jail for 48 hours?
I went to jail for 48 hours, yeah. I saw a guy get hit in the head with a tray. I did some push-ups. I wrote a poem with a little pen that had a plastic tube so that if you stabbed someone, the thing would go out so you couldn't actually do it. I kept all that stuff. I don't know where it is now.
You were really prepared on all cylinders for whatever was going to happen in there.
Yeah. And when the guy got hit in the head with the tray, he was like obviously doped out or recovering from something, and I didn't even go into the, I was in the the holding area before you go, not the drunk tank, but like the next level, like the intake. Yeah. Usually you're there for a few days to a week, I guess, and then you go into the main, general population or whatever. But yeah, I was there for 48 hours. My cellmate was in for not paying child support, and he's homeless, and he was gonna be there for 6 months, and you don't get to go outside at all in that jail. So he was gonna be inside for 6 months. Only recreation's like in a basketball court. And I remember just like, this whole system is beyond fucked up. And then now with the whole COVID situation, thank goodness they're letting people out, but nonviolent offenders, they should be helped and supported. And, if you're a drug addict, you should get treatment, not go to jail. But
the American judicial system is
I was addicted to weed, and I went to jail, and I turned out great. So I guess.
And look at it now. It's like it wouldn't have happened in a matter of a few years. It's just like, it's a reflection on the system more than the person in those
It's been nice to get the clear face on my own terms.
Not fuck some judge, man. You did it for your girl.
Yeah.
For you. And for me a little bit too, I feel like, for the podcast.
I did it mostly for you. I got rid of the mustache for her, but I did everything else for you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Actually, she liked the mustache, and I got it. Unfortunately, everyone's doing mustache now, so I feel like a poser if I grow it in, but
Well, you guys were on tour with Goose for a while, so
That's what I'm saying. I was thinking about cutting my hair and cutting my beard, and then like a few years ago, and then Manny got a haircut and cut his, got everything clean, and I was like, fuck, well, I can't do it now because he just did it. That's one of the ways I do things. It's just like, if someone else has done it or is doing it, I have to do something else.
We talked about this when we were on the road together. I was talking with Greg about it a bit too, like with the hair. It was right after I cut it, and he's like, oh, like you cut the hair. And I was like, yeah, like it had been long for a while, but I didn't want it to become a part of me. It's like Greg's hair is a part of his persona and his performance. You know what I mean?
That's what
I wanted to get there with the man bun. I was like, I don't want that to be a trait that people associate.
Well, that's what when John was talking about the hat, like he's, that's his thing. Greg has the pajama pants and the hair. My thing from college was to not have a thing. I want to be known as the guy who is constantly evolving and changing. And
Right.
I've gotten the beard's become a thing now, which is great because now it's gone, fuck off. And the hair is the same thing. I do want to, now that I have the fan that blows my hair and makes me look like I'm on Baywatch when I'm taking a bass solo.
I do love your fan.
Yes, I have the best fan in the world.
It is a wild fan. I mean, this thing is like a fucking self-contained like AC unit.
It is. It's its own entity. It found me. We found each other. Really.
It's the same one that Tim Palmieri has. If we play with pigeons or kung fu or anybody, I really like to set myself up in front of either yours or Tim's fan. Yeah,
well, I've had an idea to have the fans facing out into the audience too. I think it was at my first outdoor fish show where Trey hits this like me, and like I guess everyone like lifted up or something because wind just swept through the crowd. And this is magical moment that is it magic? Is it God or the universe, or is it just everyone moved differently because of a note?
Or did Trey have an outward-facing fan?
Or did Trey have an outward-facing fan that got me on the lawn, half a football field away? Probably that. He is
powerful. I mean, dude, the fish community, high-tech shit.
I believe it's pronounced Pahish, but yeah.
Pahish. Oh yeah, you're right. No, my mistake. I'm sorry to be ignorant to any Pahish fans out there.
Well, and I'm sorry that I have to pee. So it's been real.
Yeah. Well, you did a good job holding it. I did have to pee at one point in the podcast.
That's all.
I feel like I can sneak out and pee when people are just listening. It doesn't matter when they can see. It's more like, you know what I mean? Like
I'll send you a couple of empty Gatorade bottles. You'll be just fine.
Yeah, that's what like.
I'd not, baby.
If I had a bucket down here, I'd be fine. But
yeah. It's called the Fuck It Bucket.
Bucket, man. Hey, we've lived in vans before.
I wouldn't call that living by any means, but yes, I know what you're saying.
Well, we've had to use buckets and Gatorade bottles and
yes, indeed,
and hats and.
Yep, and with that, I'll make sure to just edit this out at the end of the episode, and we'll let's do our theme song. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
And then some Ferrara.
I'm angsty and I wear a hat.
Woo!
All right, bud. Well,
edition.
I can't wait to get back to basics with you again, and we'll talk soon, and we'll link up and have a great Tuesday if that's what fucking day it is.
Something like that. All right, you too, brother.
See you later.
Peace.